As a husband and dad of 3, I know how much pressure there is to make a Hawaii trip feel completely worth it. You've spent the money, you've done the planning, you want the beach days, the shave ice, the views, the memories, all of it. But Hawaii has a way of exposing a rush plan fast, especially when kids are involved. So in this episode, I'm going to go through 5 family travel mistakes that we've made and that we see all the time and what to do instead. Aloha and welcome to Hawaii's Best. I'm Brian Murphy, Hawaii destination expert and your personal guide to planning an unforgettable trip to Hawaii. This episode is for parents specifically, and we've traveled with kids the last 16 years, as long as we've had kids. So from diapers to toddlers to elementary age, now with a couple teenagers and an older elementary age kid, we've done all the stages. So I know how much work goes into planning a Hawaii family trip, flights, hotels, rental cars, food, beach days, tired, complaining kids, hungry kids, and trying to make the whole thing feel worth the money you spent. Hawaii can be an incredible family trip. That's probably why you're thinking about it, or you've been to Hawaii as a family. You know it can be an amazing trip, and the memories are completely priceless. But a lot of what trips families up is not always obvious. Sometimes it's the calm beach, the extra island, the cheaper hotel, or the reservation you thought you could book later once you get there. So today I'm going to go through 5. There's probably a lot more, but I'm going to go through 5 Hawaii family travel mistakes. So let's start with the ocean because this is a huge one. Mistake number 1 is treating the ocean like a mainland beach. And this is a big one because I don't say this to scare you. I say it because I've made this mistake too. I was born and raised in Southern California, still live here. So going to the beaches from Huntington, Newport, all the way down to the beaches in San Diego. So I'm comfortable around the ocean. I know a lot about the different beaches here in Southern California. But the first time going to Hawaii, what surprised me most about the beach is that, this isn't a con, but a plus is that the water is just warmer. You'd be surprised maybe if you travel and visit Southern California and thinking the water is going to be warm, and it's not that warm. But surprisingly, the water was nice and refreshing and warm in Hawaii. I remember that was like my first experience, and it felt just so inviting. And some of the beaches, what surprised me is that the bottom, talking about Hawaii beaches, the bottom can drop off faster than you expect. I actually remember a time being in the water with my girls. They were a little bit younger, and we were playing near the shore. And I walked out just a little bit further, and then suddenly the bottom just kind of dropped off from underneath me. So I wasn't that far offshore, just a few steps. And that moment really kind of got my attention because my girls, they were closer to me and they weren't strong swimmers yet at the time. And that's something I think that's important if you're a parent. I want you to hear is that even if you're familiar with beaches, Hawaii's ocean is just different. The beaches are different. The current's different. So a child can be a strong pool swimmer and still not be ready for the changing currents, the shore break, uneven footing, the drop-offs, like I mentioned, deeper water, or just, getting tired faster than you expected. That's something that I've always experienced when being out of the ocean is that you tend to just kind of burn out a lot faster. So snorkeling is another example here. A lot of people treat it as like a casual type of vacation activity, but snorkeling in Hawaii is still an ocean activity, obviously, and you need to be comfortable in the ocean, not just comfortable in a pool. Always, especially traveling as a family, always choose lifeguarded beaches. Watch the water before getting in, ask questions, ask the lifeguard and what the conditions are like for that day. And with younger kids, ease into the ocean slowly because it is so critical and it's so important. Hawaii's beaches are beautiful, but beautiful doesn't always mean safe. Respect is definitely needed when visiting any of Hawaii's beaches. Mistake number 2 is something that I saw quite a bit after these Kona low storms went through, especially the island of Oahu. And that would be going near streams, waterfalls, or brown water in the ocean after it rains. This one is actually simple, but a lot of people miss it. Saw a lot of people going into the water and not heeding warnings and advice. In Hawaii, rain up in the mountains or valleys can affect places miles away. You may be standing in sunshine, but the water can still rise quickly from rain that happens somewhere else. After heavy rain, ocean water, streams, or runoff, they can turn brown or murky, and that water can carry bacteria, sewage, yes, sewage, chemicals, animal waste, debris, fill in the blank, whatever you can think of can get washed up and end up in the ocean. So it's not just dirty looking water, like just churned up sand or dirt or whatever. It can actually make you sick. So the mistake is thinking, well, it rained this morning, but the sun is out now and looks beautiful, so we're probably going to be fine. That's not always the case. If it rained recently, give streams and waterfalls space, especially with kids. Wet rocks or slippery water levels can rise quickly, and contaminated water is not something you want your family playing in on vacation, well, in any time. So if there's been heavy rain recently, just change the plan. Always look for local guidance, what officials are saying during that time. Maybe just go get lunch, visit town, do a scenic drive that day instead. Find a safer beach with lifeguards if conditions allow. But don't force, a waterfall stop just because it looks good on the itinerary, or don't force a beach visit just because that's what you had on the list. Things change. Now, moving to mistake number 3, this might be the most common family travel mistake that I have seen, and that's trying to do too many islands within one trip. I've done dedicated episodes about this. I'll link them below. Just about island hopping. So on a map, the Hawaiian Islands, the chain looks a lot closer than you think. So I get why people think, I could do Oahu, Maui, Kauai, and the Big Island in one trip. They're not that far apart. But island hopping is not as quick as it looks. And especially, that's why I have it on this list, especially with kids. Yes, the flight may be short, but that's not the full day. You have to pack, you have to check out, you have to drive the car back to the rental car, you have to return it, check bags, go through security, fly, wait for bags, pick up another rental car, drive to your next place and check in. By the time it's all done, you easily lose half a day. And with kids, that can feel like a full day. We've been there many times, and I can attest that, yes, it is at least a half a day of travel and settling back in. So that transition day usually does not feel like vacation. It feels like logistics, and it's just travel. This is the way it is. So for most families, my recommendation is simple: one island for about a week. If you have, say 10 days or more, maybe 2 islands could work. But be honest about your family's pace. You really want to, especially if this is your first trip to Hawaii, or you're thinking you're probably not going to go back anytime soon, I would highly recommend to going deeper into one island rather than spreading yourself out too thin across too many islands. And once you're on the island, don't stack the day with 3 or 4 major activities. In Hawaii, one big thing a day is usually the better plan. And also something that we've learned over years of traveling is building a rest day. Even if this is like your one and only trip to Hawaii and you feel like you got to pack it in and you're only staying on one island, still build in at least 1 to 2 rest days during that week and just take it easy and go slow. All right, now moving on to mistake number 4 that I want to share is booking lodging for price instead of location. This is kind of a quiet one. It can cost you more than you think. For example, a family finds a hotel or condo that's $50 cheaper per night, and it feels like a smart move. Sometimes it can be. But in Hawaii, location matters a lot. Different sides of the same island can have very different weather, water conditions, drive times, and overall feel. So for example, on Oahu, the leeward side is usually drier, and the windward side is usually wetter and greener. Basically, that's roughly west is leeward side and east is windward side. On Maui, South and West Maui tend to be a lot drier, whereas Hana is wetter. Upcountry, Haleakala can be much cooler as well. And on Kauai, the North Shore can be lush and beautiful, but it also can be wetter depending on the season that you're traveling to the North Shore. Now, this doesn't mean that one side is always better. It just means you need to know what you're choosing, where you're going. Basically, the cheaper room may come with longer drives, more rain, maybe even rougher ocean conditions for little kids, and less convenient access to what you actually were hoping for with your trip. For families, this matters a lot. So before you book that deal of a place, maybe look at where it actually is. How far is it from the beaches you'll use most? You'll be surprised. Even though it looks close on a map, it could take 45 minutes to get to the place that you're hoping to visit. So How far is it from the activities that you want to do? What is the weather like usually, like on that side of the island? And what will the traffic be like when you're driving? Now, I realize I'm bringing up a lot of scenarios, a lot of questions. This isn't to overwhelm you. It's just to help prepare you. These are some simple Google searches you can do. We have resources on the website that you can go and answer some of these questions. But if you're still like, you want a little bit more personal help, I do offer one-on-one travel consulting as well for Hawaii. So you can find a link for more information below on that. Now, mistake number 5, the last one for today, would be waiting too long for reservations. This is something that's a little bit newer to Hawaii. Hawaii is becoming a more of a reservation planning. You got to plan it out type of destination. And this one can really wreck a day or your visit to Hawaii faster than I think anything else on this list. Well, except for some of the safety ones. But for the things you want to do, this can definitely wreck the plans. There are places in Hawaii where you cannot just show up like you used to if you've visited the last decade or so. You used to be able to show up to some of these places, but now you can't. Some places have hard capacity limits. Some require time reservations. Some parking lots fill early, and some reservations go so fast. For families, this matters because you're usually working with limited windows. You may only have like one good morning for a certain activity. And there's a few big ones I want you to just be aware of that are on a lot of people's lists. Hanauma Bay on Oahu is one of those, and that requires reservations for non-residents. And to get reservations for Hanauma Bay, you need to book online exactly 2 days in advance at 7 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time through the Honolulu Parks and Recreation ticketing system. So 2 days in advance for that one. Ha'ena State Park on Kauai requires reservations for non-Hawaii residents, and parking is very limited. Haleakala Sunrise on Maui is another one that requires a time vehicle reservation. This is one of the harder ones to get as far as you just got to be right on it. For this one, tickets are released in 2 waves. So 60 days in advance at 7 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time. And the remaining tickets are then released 48 hours in advance. They sell out instantly, so you must book right when they drop. Now, this doesn't mean that your whole trip needs to be over-planned. That's far from it. But the high demand stuff needs to be handled early. So if there is something that you absolutely want to do, you need to double check that if reservations are required for that activity, and then when you need to book that reservation. Another one is Diamond Head. There's also a lot more others that I just didn't have time to get into today, but just go ahead and do a quick research on if there's something that you want to do. Make sure that if it does require a reservation, you know what it is and you know when to get it. So those are 5 Hawaii family travel mistakes that many parents don't always see coming. And kind of just recap it real quick. Calm water is not always safe water. Rain changes, streams, waterfalls, and ocean conditions. Island hopping takes a lot more time than it looks. Location matters more than the cheapest room, and reservations need to be handled early. But I think if I had to really sum it all up, if you only remember 3 things from this entire episode, it would be slow the trip down, obey the ocean, and respect the place you're visiting. Those 3 things alone will help you avoid a lot of the mistakes families make in Hawaii. So that's all I have for you today. For the show notes and everything else that I mentioned in this episode, you can head to hawaiisbesttravel.com/241. And if this episode helped you at all plan your trip to Hawaii, I'd just love and invite you to let me know by leaving a rating and review below this episode. All right, so until next time, as always, live with aloha. Mahalo for listening to Hawaii's Best. If you found today's episode helpful, make sure to hit follow on your podcast app so you don't miss future episodes. You can find all links and resources mentioned today in the show notes below. Hawaii's Best is produced by Shorebreak Media Group, edited by Easy Podcast Solutions, and with music by our friends Stick Figure.